Previously, the group of you concluded your business out by the Camp 1 of the Opulent Depths Mining Company. You located and recovered the remains of a uncle-nephew mining duo. They had been preyed upon by something the group of you have dubbed a needle monster. You recovered what you could from the creature itself, mostly its exoskeleton and a few teeth. Um, and you came back. With all due haste, Pen leaving a little bit of time aside for not causing bad morale at the camp, at the very least, and being respectful of the remains. You returned to the Opulent Depths Mining Company headquarters in Elderthorn. That journey saw you paid, and raised questions as you finish up speaking with the gnome running the place, Dr. Zilla Booncraft. He spoke something of, like, recent news and things of that sort. As he rushed off to tell the families of the loss of their loved ones and try to soften the blow before the rumor mill gets to them. The rest of you splintered off onto your own contact points or places of interest within the city of Elderthorn. Hellerast went to Gogron's, check in with him, let him know that she was safe, since he has a big brotherly eye that he keeps looking out for. Some of you went to Blackburn Keep in hopes of trying to get an audience with the elusive Arcanist that is the head of the spellcaster side of its order. Some of you, additionally, went to the Fated Gate, after all. Through these journeys, the group of you found that the evening after you had left, someone was found after being attacked. Lander Goldworthy, the only son of the Goldworthys. This would be Leofric and Maude Goldworthy, who own and operate the Now You Die Tailor and Clothier. I'll drag you guys to the map while I'm just saying this. Was found with his midsection flayed open. The internal organs not ruptured to the point of causing a quick death, but more so he was allowed to slowly bleed out, trying to keep his organs inside him. He expired in Cathedral Square and was found by a young boy. The group of you have learned his name is Wes. He's one of the butcher's kids. Who had round to get help from the Blackburn Watch, but they were not quick enough to be able to get to Lander and try to staunch any type of damage. The Blackburn Watch did an initial investigation, and it sounds like a lot of the rumor in town, word of mouth, people talk, was they were not the watch, but people were placing blame on this group of 6 of you who had did some work for a few different people in town, were asking around, and then vanished seemingly without a trace, or without anyone knowing where you had gone. In your haste to make it to the Opulent Depths Mining Company, you left your destination fairly quiet. maybe for the fear of competition for the job as well. This has understandably brought about some tension at the Fada Gate Inn, where a wake and grieving event was being held. Lander had been already put to pyre, as is tradition, but his family was spending some time at the Fada Gate so people could offer condolences, share memories, enjoy a quiet drink and a meal. This is where those of you who went to Blackburn Keep were paraded to by Lieutenant Arvier. Intent on making a little bit of a spectacle about it, knowing how the town talks. He publicly laid out the town's accusations and suspicions, to which, as he suspected and you had confirmed prior to this point, seemingly, there was good reason for the group of you to not be in town. A reason that was confirmed by Dr. Booncraft, who had been brought along with Gogron, to confirm your group had nothing to do with the murder of Lander Goldworthy. There is still the issue of rumor in a town like this. And whilst that display and the investigation of the Watch and the trust that they have through the town will carry a lot of credence, it doesn't stop some people from talking. Only true justice, bringing the one responsible to face the judgment of the town, will assuage any rumors that are percolating about the group of you. And to this point, Dunnan has promised the Goldworthys that he will find the guilty individual and see to it that he's brought to the Hangman's Noose. This is where we pick up. In the Fada Gate, the Goldworthys, Lander's parents, have left for the evening, escorted back to their home by some members of Blackburn Watch, such that they're not accosted or bothered along the way. Does anyone else have anything that they want to do this evening before retiring?
I don't think. Also, Danan doesn't want to do anything because with the heavy mood in the air, it doesn't feel like much of drinking, so I think he's gonna excuse himself very early.
Sorry about that, Marcus.
Alright. You can go ahead, I'm finished.
Okay. I thought you were before, my bad. I had the few things that I messaged you, Spencer.
Yeah. But yeah, let me get the handout for the one thing for you. I'll get that added to your journal.
Much appreciated. After that, I think I will find lodging in town. Willem's feeling like he does not want to see his family right now. He's feeling a little shook.
Okay. I mean, you're able to find lodging at the Fada Gate with yeah.
Sorry, I missed both of you.
Go ahead, Dunn.
I said, we can share a room if you want.
It would be cheaper. I think I just need sleep and to recoup, but I will share the cost. I appreciate the generosity.
No worries. It's some heavy news we just got delivered, so yeah, it's gonna be a couple of rough days ahead of us. First and foremost, we have to find the culprit and clear our name.
Perfect. The our families and our image, lastly.
I think it's gonna be quite challenging because everybody seems to be, I don't know, quite suspicious of us. He won't be very talkative. Well, at least the Goldworthys invited us to their home and provide us with some information. And there is also this West boy who found the Goldworthy lad. And at least we have two leads or points of information. What do you say? We should split up for tomorrow to cover more ground.
Everybody does need to be with another party member, I think. Safety in numbers. We need to be above reproach as well.
True. Well, we can discuss it tomorrow with the rest.
I agree, my friend.
And with that, Dannen will drink up his ale and pay Buka. I'm in room 2 if you wanna join me.
Yes. You tell me what I owe you, my friend. I'll be up soon.
Great. See you then.
Okay. Anything from you, Aeolus?
Hope, Aeolus is just going to abstain from drinking and is going to return home. He'll remind Siegfried that him and Aeolus are to meet in the morning to go talk to Pat.
Yeah, Siegfried nods, and when Aeolus leaves, he'll excuse himself and head back to the keep.
Okay. One by one, the group of you turn in, resting, recovering, fulminating on events over the evening. During this time, Willem, you are... Yes, I'll come to that in a sec.
No problem. Sorry.
Yeah. You are... plagued by unsettling dreams, once again. Dunnan, make me a perception check with disadvantage, please. Okay. Dunnan, you are not awoken by Willem's sounds that translate out of the dream and into conscious reality. The dream that you experience this time, Willem, you find yourself once again on that cliff. No rain is coming down this time, though. And as you sort of look out towards that bluff, up where you saw the figure previously, do you do anything?
So you said the figure is there?
No. You see
Okay.
this bluff where it was. You feel you're in the same place.
Okay, I
But-
apologize. Willem would walk to the bluff and assume the position and area where the figure had been and look down, probably trying to recreate what he had seen in his past dreams.
Make me a concentration check, please.
Which would be what? Constitution?
Con save, yeah.
Con, yeah.
Okay. My Roll20 does want to bring up stuff for me right away. There we go. As you're sort of trying to trudge up this side of the cliff, your footsteps feel heavier and heavier as you're trying to get to where that individual was. It feels like you're carrying heavy stones tied to your legs at this. Every footstep is a Herculean effort. You're marching up this hill. To keep yourself focused throughout it, though. And this single-minded determination. Before you even realize it, when you get to the top, you've been brought down to your knees with this weight that it feels like you're dragging behind you. You can just pull yourself on your elbows and wrists to the edge and the precipice. You stretch and strain your arms to try to get your head over the edge and look down. As you do, you see the churning surf beneath you. Dark. Give me a perception check, please.
Perception. Boop. Nailed it.
Alright. I roll 20. There we go. Yeah, totally. You see the surf churning, shifting. It's nothing that you see offhand at it, but as you're paying attention, you see the change in the surface. It's cracking against the rocks, and then you wake up. There's nothing else. But your thoughts immediately. It's still dark when you wake.
What's that significant? What's that horrible noise? Oh, thank the gods. It's stunning. It would probably pass back out.
Okay.
Perfect timing on that, Marcus, by the way.
Okay. Pass back out. You complete your long rest. The morning comes to you all. On the beginning of the next day, who wants to start us off?
I would go to the place we're supposed to meet Bat and wait for Aeolus.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have a meeting scheduled with Bat, but you could check to see if she was back. She's out. And she's the type of person that just, when she goes somewhere, and she doesn't really tell anyone or do stuff as is wont in her position. But that would be in Blackburn Keep.
Yeah, since I'm there, I'll just go wait by her office to see if I can catch her.
Okay. Give me a history check. Okay. You know her office is on the higher floors of Blackburn Keep. You do know that she typically often isn't there even when she is in the keep, but you can still go there and wait. Maybe it's the most likely spot she'll head to once returning. How long into the morning would you wait?
Well, where does she usually is when she's in the keep, if not in the office?
Usually doing business of some sort with one of the other members, or working on training the advisors. That is the similar rank as the lieutenants that work underneath her in training the acolytes, which are the same rank as Aeolus is. The rank under the lieutenant, but still avowed.
And I guess I just do a round, and then if I didn't find her, go to the office and wait.
Okay, sounds good. Give me an investigation check and roll me a d4, please. All right. Aeolus, what are you up to this morning? You would have rested at your own abode?
Yeah, and he would have put on his Blackburn, his armor and such, and would have head over to the keep early morning. But
Okay.
not as early as Siegfried wakes up, cause ain't nobody got time for that.
All right. Roll me a d6, please. All right. You end up not that you know it, but getting up about an hour after Siegfried wakes and begins his search through the keep for Bat. Siegfried, you take the better part of 2 hours searching through the area before heading to the office, checking every nook and cranny, asking people who are about. One of the evening guard patrols comes in during that time, with Aeolus about a minute behind them. But the patrol that was out and about, they're just talking about how the evening was, and they go to start getting some meal. As you're passing through the area, you heard the conversation, glance over, and you see Aeolus walking into Blackburn Keep at that time.
Up early.
Not much sleep either way. And Siegfried's just gonna keep looking for Bet. I already ate breakfast. Try and meet up with me after.
I've already eaten. What's the plan for today? Besides trying to meet with the higher ups.
Siegfried just shrugs. I've never been part of a murder investigation. I imagine Dunnan has some ideas.
Out of everyone, he definitely seems like it. Him and Hellerast.
You head to Bat's office as during this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, Siegfried, at the very least, was going to the office.
Yeah.
Siegfried and Aeolus, what are your passives?
14.
15.
Okay. You're waiting there. 10 minutes pass. You're just sort of shifting, leaning on one wall. Wall gets cold, change positions. Half hour passes. You hear the flickering of the torches that are used to illuminate the interior corridors. Not quite tapestries, but long fabrics are hung upon the walls to create insulation in the stone structure, and spaced appropriately away from torches, but they don't give much, and a chill blows through the corridor. Someone's opened some porthole. Change positions. During one of these changes, Siegfried, you said you had 15?
Correct.
Okay. Then that means Aeolus, you're the one who falls for it. You bump against the door. Beyond just like the knock, but your weight. There's a stick to it, and there's a creaking of wood before the door opens inwards underneath your weight as you sort of leaned against it instead of stone, choosing wood to be a little bit maybe warmer than the cold stone, or at least have a more difficult degree of transferring the heat out of your form. And the initial knock that you had placed upon the door wasn't sufficient to sort of unstick it from the jam that it was in, but it falls open. It wasn't locked. And give me a dex save, Aeolus. You stumble for a sec, catch yourself on one knee, and pick yourself back up. Looking around the room, this is the first time you've been in this office. Give me a perception check with disadvantage. It's a foreign environment to you. You're not sure what you're looking at. Still pretty good. The room is a mess. There are parchments everywhere. Melted wax has dripped on the floor in several locations, like someone was carrying a candle and pacing back and forth for untold hours or days, perhaps. The place looks like it has never been cleaned, but has been busy enough that dust doesn't really accumulate on anything. Surprisingly busy for someone who apparently doesn't spend a lot of time here. There's a bed off to one side. It's about twice as wide as your cots that the recruits sleep in, with piles and piles of blankets on it. A mound, like a great earthwork upon the bed, making almost a domed structure of blankets and fabrics and maybe clothes and pillows and all manner of things. Off to the far side is a set of 3 windows. On this upper level, they're a little bit wider than the arrow slits you would find lower down, but still narrow enough for security purposes. Not that such that no one would be trying to scale into them in any way. The most the thing that catches you the most, and this is what indicates this place has probably never been cleaned. The place smells rotten. It smells like an unwashed chamber pot. It is bad in here. It hits you like a wall in addition to all of the sights.
Aeolus immediately covers his mouth and just looks about in utter disgust. How the fuck could someone look like this?
Yeah, boss. I'm not stepping in there. I don't even know if the bat wants us in there. Siegfried is staying well out the door right now.
Pat, are you in here?
Call out. There's a no reply.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to poke around here. I don't know, Aeolus. This is stuff that gets cadets in trouble.
I agree with you on that one. Hold on a sec. And he's going to. Words. He's going to uncover his mouth
Mhm.
and regrettably take a deep breath. He wants to see if the smell is that of just dirt, grime, and general grossness, or if it's because a decaying body or body parts.
Make me a nature check for that. There's definitely some decay of some sort. You can't place it. It could be food that's been left out for untold 10 days. Could be literally a chamber pot that you just haven't spotted. There's a lot of things that jump to your mind, but it seems like it's more than one thing at least. There's not one particular thing that you can pin down, though.
Okay. Aeolus will just pack out and we'll close the door, and he'll turn to Siegfried and just motion for him to follow as he heads off to go find Arvir.
Okay. I think Siegfried stepped away for a moment. So we'll say Siegfried follows you. Come back to that in a sec. Dunnan, you and Willem wake to a comfortable morning. Good breakfast downstairs from Buka. What does your day look like? At least the morning.
Smile. Not. Oh, I think look it up. Would Willem mention anything about the dream?
I don't know that I would because I still haven't gathered too much. But Willem would definitely look haggard. I
You're right.
had the worst sleep and dreams, nightmares plagued me.
Again? You know what they say. Once is coincidence, two times is a pattern.
Yes, well, it was the same dream. So, I suppose it is a pattern.
Anything to be worried about?
I don't know. I told you before, I believe. A figure in my dream. There was no figure this time, just same location.
Anything you recognize? Any place you know? Maybe.
I don't believe so. I can keep you abreast of the situation. I know we
how
need
to
to be.
contrafall.
I know we need to
Add
meet up
to
with.
the list.
Sorry, say that again. I missed it.
That we added to the list of tasks to do. But our priority should be to clear up or investigate murder for the Goldworthy lad. It's our head is about half part inside the noose already, so we should probably get going.
Seems true. First, I need a good hearty breakfast and some tea. Perhaps we
Duty
should meet.
starts with a hearty meal.
Yes. We should meet and eat with our companions. Discuss.
Yeah, where are they? Well, they will be around. Let's just enjoy our breakfast for now. And if they are not here within 30 minutes, I think we're gonna go to the Goldworthys and try to find out more about what happened that night.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think Willem and Danan would just eat for half an hour and wait if Siegfried and Eolus show up, and if not,
Okay.
Yeah, and there was one thing. Sorry, I had to step away, but there was one thing I
Mhm.
wanted to try before Aeolus closed the room.
Yeah.
I would like to wild shape into a wolf and
Okay.
see if I pick up any smells, like able to differentiate the smells that way. Because the wolf has keen hearing and smell.
Okay. Mark, I've used wild shape, and then give me a perception check with advantage.
Ooh, net 20.
Hey, there you go. Did I get on a whisper?
Okay.
Alright. As you're sitting here, taking a big full whiff of this room, the smell's not just food and defecation. There's something seriously rotting in this room somewhere. Not a small something. It's either many plates of food that have been like stashed in a chest and intentionally left to rot for some reason, or something bigger than a plate of food.
Can I pinpoint the location in the room?
Cannot, even with that.
Okay.
You that much of a success, like the greatest degree of success that you can hit there, is what tells you there's something seriously off about this smell in this room.
Okay.
Alright, I'm gonna drag back up.
I'll come back.
Now that I noticed that, I would try and find the source in the room.
Okay. Do you stay in wolf shape, or do you
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay in wolf shape.
So Aeolus, you just see him plodding into the room instead of following you.
Turn into a fucking wolf.
Yeah, Aeolus is the only one that hasn't seen that. Yeah.
Thankfully, it does not have multiple pieces of its jaw like those in the pinwood. As you're plotting in the room, give me an investigation check, Siegfried. It's a mental stat, so you get to use your own, not the wolves. Oh, pretty good. There's a number of chests. There's an armoire that he sort of knows to open up the swinging doors of it. And go around through there. Various garments. Nothing there. Start churning through some of the drawers. You sort of... There's a chest there, but you're not in a form where you can manipulate the latch on the chest. So, how would you indicate to Aeolus that you need assistance with that?
I would just turn around, stare right at Aeolus, and start tapping my tail against the chest, like loudly.
There's a deep thunk sound as...
And kind of keep nodding my head at Aeolus until he gets. Do you understand, Aeolus?
Aeolus will walk over and just questionably, like, look at the chest. You want me to open this?
Doesn't look like a traveling chest. It looks like a storage one. It's about 6 feet wide, maybe 3 feet deep, and a good 4 feet high. Like, it can store a lot, but it's not something that you would take on like a journey or something like that.
Is it locked?
There's not a padlock on it, but there is a latch where you sort of have to like lever it up to unhook the D-ring and then move the D-rings off. Something that paws cannot manipulate, unfortunately.
Okay.
There's not a padlock on it or anything like that you see.
So, Aeolus is going to just flip open the T-ring
Okay.
and is going to... he wouldn't know to check for traps or anything, so he's going to open it.
Okay. I need you and the wolf to make Constitution saving throws. Wolf has a +1 bonus. For you, Siegfried. Perfect. All right, and oh, there's Aeolus's. Aeolus, you keep it together. Siegfried, it's somewhere it's probably more entertaining for Aeolus, so I'll tell it from Aeolus's perspective. You see the wolf, with the heightened sense of smell, start making these coughing and retching sounds before disgorging a large degree of bacon and what looks to be some type of breakfast gruel all over the floor, coating some of the piles of wax, some parchments upon the ground, as a smell hits the two of you. A vile smell. Sorry, go ahead.
I am going to start holding my breath.
Okay. The wincing and the watering of your eyes at this presence, and that when you open this chest, the interior of it, there's dirt. There's a layer of dirt in this chest. Along the bottom, what you gauge by the side of the outside of the chest, maybe the bottom 8 inches to a foot of it must be filled with soil. From there, the more disturbing thing that you find is it is filled with maggots that are crawling and worming their way through some corpse that's an advanced stage of decomposition. hard to tell who this individual might have been. There's no clues to indicate who they are. They're about 5'6", you would guess, in height, based on the length of this skeleton, or the parts of the skeleton. You see the feet and the crown, and it's starting to sink into the dirt a little bit. Not like actively, but like it has sunken into the dirt of the place for a little bit. And everywhere that there's not form or maggots writhing around is this person's individual's remains.
Is there any is there anything in here besides the remains and the maggots? Like any?
Nothing that you see on the surface level. You go digging around in it if you'd like.
Sorry, that was by accident.
The wolf turns on me. Oh no!
Suddenly it has multiple joints to its mouth.
I should have known. Aeolus is just going to turn towards Siegfried, and he's going to look into Siegfried's eyes and then back to the body as he closes the chest.
Sigrid will pop out a wild shape. It's like, we need to tell someone about this.
Make me a D8 roll, please. Okay, you're good. Continue.
Yeah.
I'd
we
watch
tell-
out. You almost stepped in your breakfast.
That's what it was.
Yes, sorry about that. I can't imagine how bad that smells as a wolf.
Yeah, no. I agree. We should step out of here, but that wasn't bat size.
Oh,
Can we
Bat
have
is a
any
halfling, right?
estimating?
I'll grab
From
you.
the-
I'll grab your
the
bat's hand out. One moment.
Yeah. She looks like a halfling or a dwarf. That's all I can tell.
Bat is. Let me double check my notes. Continue in the meantime. I want to make sure I find this and get this right.
I mean, yeah. I think if she was halfling size, that chest might fit.
The chest is 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
It's a big chest.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it could even fit a dwarf potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe
but
even a small human. You know.
let's not stay in here any much longer.
No. Do you think Arvir will even care about this? As Siegfried is locking the door.
Honestly, I think Arvir is gonna scream at us for effectively going through Pat's office.
What do you think we should do?
Well, seeing as we're already part of one suspect pool,
Bat is a dwarf.
Okay.
I'd rather not be a part of another suspect pool. So, and if we found a body, let's go tell Arvir.
Understood. Let you do the talking then.
Were we supposed to meet up with the others? I forget.
Eventually, but we've been horribly sidetracked.
Okay. They can handle themselves for a moment. And Aeolus will go rush off to go find Arvir.
Okay.
Sigrid would follow him, and then I guess right before he talked to Arvir, Siegfried would cast a spell on Aeolus. He's gonna cast Enhance Ability and give Aeolus Eagle's Splendor.
That is insight, or is that charisma?
No, sorry, fuck. Charisma, I think.
The charisma one.
Eagle Splendor has the target has advantage on charisma checks.
Gotcha. Okay. I couldn't remember which one was wisdom or charisma.
Yeah. And,
All right. Noted.
cast that on Aeolus. Hopefully, he can get us out of trouble.
Yeah. Takes you about 15 minutes to find Arvir. As you're searching around, you're out in the courtyard at one point. When you see him coming back in from somewhere out in the town, walking through the main gate with a few newer recruits. You recognize them. They weren't trained specifically with you. They're at the same rank as you, being that you're all recruits. But having conversation with them in a more jovial manner, not very commanderly in any sense, but just speaking with them plainly about something. Sees the two of you, and then gauges a look on your faces. And the recruit says something to the two recruits who hurry off. What is? Yes? You need me?
Yes, and possibly Storm Surge as well.
Storm Surge be in later today. He work last night.
We were waiting around for Pat, and we found something. And Aeolus would.
Sort of, he doesn't say anything. He just leaves you the space to continue.
And Aeolus will look around to see if there's anyone else within earshot.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to surround. There's a few people around the courtyard. None seem to be paying attention to the three of you. Pardon me. Make me an insight check if you want.
Nah. Aeolus will lower his voice and say, with everything that's going on, with the Goldworthy, the creature, we found a body in Pat's office.
Why are you in Magma Spine's rooms? She don't like it. Body?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's go. And on the way up, Aeolus will explain how they went to go knock on the door and it swung open,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to smell the horrid smell, and Aeolus thought,
Maybe a persuasion check.
sure,
With advantage.
great, it's my lowest stat.
Hey, look at that. He sort of nods. I believe you. As gets in the room, you see even his eyes water a little bit as he steps in. Where body? You said in trunk?
Over there, yes.
Sort of takes the latches and sort of lifts it, looking around. Oh, that's nasty. Yes, I agree. Sort of closes the trunk lid again. I send Rena to Storm Surge. Oh, what? Sort of cleans out his eyes a little bit. You need to be woken for this.
Should I go fetch him?
No, no. I get him. Uh, this order. Tell no one of this. Not yet.
Understood.
Looks
Should
at
we
you,
just
Siegfried.
stay guard outside this room until you come back?
No, I'll lock. Uh, no suspicion. God be suspicious. Don't know yet, and better not start rumor. Does you smell outside with door closed? Or?
I only noticed it
Oh.
when the door popped open. It didn't smell like normal rot, so I wanted to find out further. Sorry if I intruded.
No, good. Okay. We deal with anything that might come from that later. Doubt it, though. You may stay, you may go. Don't speak yet. Storm Surge need to see this. Render opinion.
Can I do an insight check on Arvir? Like, is
Sure. Yeah.
is he panicking or?
Yeah. Give me an insight check. He seems perturbed by this.
And that doesn't
He-
usually happen, right? Like,
Yeah,
Arvir-
no. He's off kilter, and that's not like him. It doesn't seem dishonest to you. It's hard to gauge also because it's not a disposition that you're used to seeing the lieutenant in. You're used to seeing him commanding a presence both physically and socially and in any space in which he finds himself. And you get the feeling this might have been like how he was as a recruit at one point, where he's unsure of something. And he seems, as it boils down, genuinely unsure of what to do at this point. But
sorry.
he's doing what he thinks he is best, from what you can tell.
Just say I'm sorry for the bad news, Arvir. We'll try to help you however we can.
Please.
We were about to meet with Dunnan to carry on with the investigation of the other thing.
That's fine. Good luck on that. Bring friends by after that. We may need external hires for this. Don't know. Need to speak with Storm Surge.
How about we say we come back to the keep for in the evening?
Supper, yes. Come then.
Good luck.
I need to he closes the door with a thud and sort of feels how it was like sort of wedged into place, and you see the muscles flex for a moment as he slams the door the last like 2 inches shut where it wedges into place. And he takes out a small key from inside of his tunic. It doesn't look like it has any teeth on it. It's just the neck of the key with where the teeth would be, a square of metal that is uncut. Places it into the lock, takes it back out of the lock. You see that there's now key shapes on it. Places it back into the lock again and locks it. And then tucks the key away back into his breastplate. All right. We go, and he's moving at a pretty brisk pace down the stairs. Are you guys following him down to the main area at the very least?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Siegfried will just whisper to Aeolus, I there's one thing I want to check. If you want to entertain me, Aeolus.
Of course.
There are windows on one side of the room. Maybe we should check the window side outside.
Okay.
He basically leads the charge effectively. Not visibly charging somewhere, but he's moving at a brisk pace down the stairs, through the 3 corridors leading to the main common room where the ever-burning coals are, past the people that are eating their breakfast before their shift or after finishing their shift, working on cleaning weapons, things of that sort, out through the courtyard where people are practicing with wooden shafts to resemble the great spears, and then out of the keep on his journey to find Storm Surge. He seems to know where he's going. He's not turning and looking into other corridors, but he heads out. He's leaving the keep. The two of you, where are you going?
Actually, now that I see all the recruits outside, I say maybe we could check the windows some other time. Let's
As
just
we're
go find
on our way
Dunnan.
back in.
Sorry, I missed what you said.
Perhaps when we're on our way back in later.
Sure, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The two of us looking outside a window, I imagine that's gonna generate all sorts of weird rumors. Let's just find out.
Okay. Well, you know where Dunnan sleeps, so
Yep.
you head to Faded Gate. About 2 hours after you and Willem got up, Dunnan, the long breakfast has been enjoyed, and at that point, Siegfried and Aeolus finally arrive. They slept in, seemingly quite late.
Finally, you're here. What are you doing? We were waiting for you. We have pressing matters to attend to.
You also missed breakfast. It is the most important meal. Don't worry, I grabbed some travel bacon.
Had a
And
late
that.
day.
A little floppy.
Just some
So?
just some watch matters. It's taken care of now. Have you have any ideas where we're gonna start this investigation?
Well, the Goldworthy invited us to their home to question them. I think that's our first lead, and there is still this West boy they mentioned, who found the Lander lad.
I think we should try and speak with Dr. Booncraft as well. It seemed like they were working together at some point.
And also, you two being part of the Black Baron Watch, could you maybe find out who was on guard duty this night? I mean, there has to be like.
Sure. Actually, our party was invited to dinner there tonight.
Oh, really?
Storm Surge may need us for something, so.
Just task after task. We haven't even finished the important one. But alright.
Well, I believe it may tie into this. That's why he asked for us.
That's probably the top priority now, yeah. Well, shall we go to the Goldworthies then?
Yes.
I have some personal business with them, so I would prefer to take
And
that as a first step.
Willem, you spent the night here? You haven't. Go home at least. Tell your mom you're alive.
With all of the happenings, I needed a day away. I didn't want to bring the darkness home. I wanted to get in the right mind space to see my family. I don't want them to see me unhappy. I sent message though.
My family has seen me unhappy plenty of times. They still care for me.
Yes, in good time. In good time, I will be there.
All right, Dunnan. Why don't you lead the way?
Okay.
Well, would I know where the Goldworthys are located?
You would.
Town?
Alright, yeah, let me drag you over. The Now You Die Tailors is letter I. They are right next to the Temple of the Faithful. Here.
Okay. Just
Um,
walk over the bridge.
Not more than 5 minutes or so. I cross the Troll Run. The river
Alright.
is
I'll
running
lead
quite
the way
quick at this
this
point.
way.
And you can hear the sound of the Troll Run basically anywhere in town at this point, other than the far side of the Sea Dock Ward, getting too close to the Pinwood. The Troll Run has a volume to it at this time of the year. The Now You Die Tailor is a 3-story building that looks like it's seen better times. The lowest level is stone, up to about 9 feet in height, at which point it transitions into a wood and mortar sort of Tudor style structure that then overhangs the road in front of it slightly. And from the second level that overhangs slightly, and then the third level, which overhangs even greater, is a series of signs related to the business itself. As some of the storefronts in town, the lowest level is used for the retail space, and the upper levels are the apartments of the owners. As you get close to the area, you see that there's a sign on the door. Closed until further notice. You suspect probably due to the bereavement. But as you are coming up the street, you hear a voice from one of the upper levels. One moment. Leofric will be right down. The voice of Maude comes through as she sees the party of you approaching. Seems like they were waiting for you.
Before
Good
we
morning, Miss Gold.
sorry, before we start talking to them, I'm gonna drop. Well, if enhance ability is gone,
It has been
or
by now. It
yeah.
it is by now, yeah.
I am going to do it again, but this time cast Owl's Wisdom on myself.
On yourself? No.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
Advantage
Easy
on
enough.
Wisdom. Yeah.
That one's easy to know. Why can't it be Eagle's charisma? All right. 2 minutes later, not even. There's the turning of a heavy lock, disengaging on the storefront, and opening the door inwards. You see the strong but older and a little bit slight form of Leofric. He's got dark skin. The hair is graying, short cut, but definitely an older face. Not least of which has been exacerbated by the events of the last 10 days. Come in.
Morning, Leofric. Thank you for inviting us.
Please, if before we speak with before I bring you up to speak with Maude, she has this notion of Lander's murderer. She wants to see him hanged, head cut off, or something or other. I just want him brought to justice. I just wanted it, whether that be at your hands or the hangman's. I care not. I have no taste for bloodshed. But I wanted to say that beforehand, please. Shh, shh. And holds a finger to his lips. She'll tell you what she wants and just go along with it. And for her sake, please.
Could I do an insight check
Alright.
on this? Like, is this actually care for his wife, or is he have some sort of ulterior motive?
He seems very believable.
Okay.
You don't need to check to make that.
Yeah.
he seems like someone who's concerned for his spouse and the effect that these events have had on her, and is worried about the. He seems to understand that vengeance by itself is not a good path, and doesn't want his wife to go down that. He's further along in the grieving process, but he leads you through the shop. There are large bolts of fabric attached to the walls of this. There's no racks of clothes or garments on display. There's large sheets of parchment stacked on one side of a wide desk that runs the whole length of one wall. There's a small pedestal that's about 3 to 4 feet in height. And along the side of it, there's this large sort of gear crank, it looks like, along the one side of it, and a folding mirror that can be set out, it looks like, to wrap around this hexagonal pedestal. But that's currently folded and put away to one side near the bolts of fabric. All manner of tools and implements set along, hanging on hooks, near the desk as well. It looks very much like a workman's shop, not a storefront. But he leads you through this area to a small back chamber, which has a small cook fire, a pot, both cold, and then up the stairs that sort of wind and twist up to the second level, where you find setting out a tray of tea and what looks to be some dark bread, maybe pumpernickel, with a plate of butter. Is Maude. I hope this is okay. The tea's a little bit cold. We were expecting you a little bit sooner. I'm sorry. I can heat it up if you'd like. Please sit.
It's all right, Mrs. Goldworthy. We just ate breakfast, but some tea would be nice. Thank you very much.
Please. She gestures to a collection of chairs. It looks like she's pulled every possible seating implement from the living room and kitchen of their home into this main area. So that way the group of you can sit down, and the two of them take seats in at least be comfortable armchairs that are next to each other near a modest fireplace that's currently lit, keeping the space warm against the morning chill. I'm sorry, I don't know how to start this. How can we help?
Well, let's start with the obvious question. When did you last saw Lander, and what was he about to do? Did you mention anything about it?
It was and she sort of gets caught up in her throat immediately when Leofric fills in. It was the day they found him. We saw him in the morning. He was taking a litter over to the mayor's home, Renata, and then he said he had some business with Dr. Boonecraft, and he would be home sometime after that if he didn't get caught up with anything else. We had no business to need doing that day, so that was fine. He was usually about.
He was by himself most of the time.
He spent time as a member of the Watch. He was strong of body. There's no concern for him. But he did not have any friends he was traveling with that day. Delivering a love letter, usually done a little bit more solitary. I know we like the Mythsmiths.
You mean what's his name?
The bookstore.
Trade?
No, Mythsmith. The bookstore.
Mythsmith.
The alley behind us. He was fond of picking up new things to read. He was a bit of a he was a
Kind of a
quiet
bookworm.
person. Yes. Which was fine with
Did he
us.
seem on edge?
No. He seemed stressed about something. I saw fit not to pry, but I suspect it was Nara's condition. I think he was hoping that they'd be able to wed before spring fully turned to summer. But I mean, that sort of stress can wear on anyone. And he was good. Not many would stick with someone after all of that.
Did he ever meet Nara? Or was Lander
Oh yes,
the only one?
no,
who popped there?
she's been around several times. For supper before she fell ill.
I mean, afterwards, after she fell ill, or was she just compelled to be in the tower or in her room?
He went there often. During the winter, it was maybe once or twice a 10-day. But prior to and since the snow started to melt around here, he would make almost daily trips. Taking a letter and stopping by on his way home to pick up one that she had written for him. Couldn't tell you what they discussed, but he was more than smitten. He cared for her deeply. You'd need to speak with Tidel. She would have more inclination of what they spoke of. Maybe I understand he's waited there for some hours having conversations with her as well.
Who is that? Who's Tadel?
Mayor.
Yeah.
The mayor. You mean the
Nara's mother.
mother?
yeah.
Mother.
But from what Lander had told us, it was so sweet. He said he would pick up a book, and that's how they met apparently, and read to her. And she was unable to go, and he would sit there for hours by her chamber door and read stories for them. So romantic. She sort of wipes her eyes for a moment.
When Nara decided to shut herself in, do you
Oh.
remember any sort of precipitating incident?
No, the talk of the town at that time, at least among us older folk. No, she was doing well during the summer, and then when harvest came, beginning of the harvest season, the physician, was deeply concerned about her deteriorating condition, where she had picked up something. She didn't think it was a curse or nothing, but she suspected some type of bug or plague or something, maybe from the pinwood. The mayor's home is located stone's throw from the closest boughs. There was the only space to build, but the physician thought it could be something of that sort and quarantined her from there. And it's been that way since.
Who was the last person to actually see Nara in person, Mayor Tidel?
I would suspect it would probably be her mayor or Throwen. Her physician, Throwen Dedance.
Just turned to Dunn, and perhaps we should talk to this physician at some point.
You think he's connected to that? Or just to get more information about Nara's condition.
I don't know. Anything can be connected. I also ask, did your son have any good friends in town that may know more about his professional business?
Well, he was training to take over for us. Once he and Nara were wed, they were going to move into the upper apartments. We actually moved out of our own room and been preparing extra space for them so they can have their privacy, but they were going to take over the business. He did work with the import company some, Gnome Depot. Extra money, you understand? Nah, there's not too much money in being a clothier, but it is nice work. But he wanted to have a good deal of extra money, more than I thought that he and Nara might need to start their life together, but he was that type of person, always more prepared than he needed to be, from what I understand. You need to speak with the ward.
I'm sorry, I'm sure people have asked this for you before, but know of anyone who may have had a grudge against your son or Nara? Maybe a jilted lover or
No,
business rival?
I was. You see, Maud sort of gives a little chuckle. No, I was worried we would never see grandchildren if he didn't find somebody soon. He was not one for romance, shall we say. He was, as you said, a bit of a bookworm, and his romance with Nara and their betrothal meant that hopefully in a few short years we might have a grandchild running about. That's gone now. But
do you know if Nara had any other suitors she set aside for your son?
not that I know of. She was younger. I mean, Lander had about 9 years on her. She's this point, I think, scant 20. She's not served her time with the watch. She was due to this spring, but the physicians forbade it, at least until she's better. They were to be married while she did her 2 years of service, and he began working. But no, to the best of my knowledge, no suitors. Though, mind you, was not my concern before Lander mentioned that he was interested in her to us.
So, you were concerned initially?
No, we were concerned he was not going to find a wife. But we were relieved when he did. Who it was did not concern us.
Isn't he quite the handsome, or wasn't he quite the handsome lad? I mean, pretty sure there must be a lot of girls that were interested in him.
I think it was more a lot weren't interesting to him. He was very bookish, and I mean, he nods to his wife, Maud. Not everyone can be as lucky as I can with the looks of the person they choose to spend their life with. But I think Lander took after me and was more interested in content of character rather than facade. I was lucky and got both.
Siegfried kind of he kind of like pauses for a second, and he looks at Willem, and then he looks back at the parents, and then he kind of like waits for a second before he's trying to figure out how to ask this properly, and he's like, I know this may seem unrelated, but at any point in his childhood or history, did your son ever spend any time in the Pinwood or the forest?
He was one of the better people who kept the rumors of the Pinwood going. He knew most of the legends and little offerings to give to the kami. He was well read on the matter. I always said, gestures to Maud, I always said to her that, well, if he doesn't take over for us, at the very least he'll be an accomplished storyteller.
Was there a particular story that he loved above others? I know every storyteller has their favorite story.
I'm not sure. He has his books in his room if you would like to check. I couldn't tell you which.
Yes, if you don't mind, I think we would like to take a look around his room, if that's all right.
Of course, of course.
Might give us some insight.
Certainly. Leofric sort of gets up, folds his hand up to Maud. I'll get it. You enjoy.
Did
He
he? Just
some
one more
bread.
question, Leofric.
It's... See,
Did he
heads from the
receive
stairs.
any letters? Or did he receive letters and did he came here to your house?
None brought here. It was, they would exchange them, I suspect, at her home. He would give her letters that she could read during the day and reply to him, whilst he was out doing errands or here working, and he would pick it up, pick one up for himself before sunset. He would read it and presumably write a return and drop it off before work the following morn. But no, he was the only courier of his own correspondence. Here we are. As he gets to the top of the stairs, opens the door into a suite-style apartment. Quite comfortable on this upper level. There's no cook area, but there's a living room area, and then connected through sort of a double door setup that can be slid aside a large bedroom. As I said, it was Maud's and I's before Lander came along, and before this romance, and we were getting it ready for him. All of his stuff has been moved into it. We have the smaller room now. I suspect it will stay that way. We couldn't bring ourselves to clear through it all.
Also, now that we're a little bit away from your wife, Leofric, I wanted to ask you a question personally.
Yes.
I asked about any enemies your son might have. Do you know of anyone you may have a grudge against that would have escalated it to violence against your son?
Not many. I've had words with people in town over the years, usually about failing to meet payment, but it's always been resolved amicably. None bad. We did do some business with a group that came through 2 years back. That tried to stiff us on payment. The watch had to be called. They did end up paying us, thankfully.
Does this group have a name?
Not that I know of. We only spoke with one member. They had commissioned a set of heavy traveling cloaks for extremely cold weather, which we can do. It's just a little costly with the amount of fur that was required. Their final bill came to close to 700 silver. The one I spoke with was a gentleman named Lend, Darkskin. He
And this,
got 7 of these cloaks.
this order was placed recently.
No, this was 2 years back.
Okay.
That was the most confrontational time that we've ever had, though. They tried to pay us half of what the bill was. It wouldn't even cover the materials, let alone our labor.
Did you just say land?
Yes, that's what they introduced themselves as. I suspect it was a pseudonym of some sort, or a nickname. I don't think
Was his
that.
first name maybe Richard?
I don't know. They just said that they were lend and they wanted to buy some cloaks. They put an order in. 10 days later, they came back and tried to pick them up for half price. Watch was called. They had the correct amount of money with them. I suspect they were just trying to cheat one over on their boss. I suspect get a disc. Tell the boss they paid 700, only pay us half because the cloaks were already made. Who else are we going to sell them to? And then pocket the difference. But no, the watch made sure that they paid us. They took their cloaks. They were disgruntled. Then they left.
You haven't seen any of these individuals in town recently, have you?
No, not since. The only one that I dealt with was this Lend fellow. There was a half-orc person with them, or maybe a full orc, but never got their name, never spoke with them. But those were the only 2 that I had seen.
They were getting cold weather here. Do you think they were heading into the
That
mountains?
sounds suspiciously as somebody I know.
It was much colder weather than you would need around here, but, they were travelers, so they could be going any number of places. Even up to the logging camps gets quite a bit colder due to the altitude up the troll run. So,
Dunn, do you recognize these people?
Yeah, I might know who they have been. My former commander and my brother in arms. Yes.
they don't pay
Commander was
well,
named
if that's the case.
Krator Blackhand. Yeah, that suits Krator. He's like piece of shit. Never was an honest person. Tried to worm his way like he could. Disgusting person. But Land was usually
It's a
an
particular
honest
amount
guy.
of ritual. But so here's the room. Like, I don't think this individual would have come back that much later for recompense over 350 silver. But try not to disturb too much. I'll be downstairs with my wife. Please stop down if you want any more tea or bread as well. We have plenty. Any plots back down the stairs. And let's do our mid-session break here. We're at 36 right now. How about we go break until like 44? Sound good?
Yep.
Right.
All right. Back in a couple. So, the group of you, Willem goes downstairs to discuss something with Leofric and Maude by himself. The three of you are left in the chamber. Yep, is Willem back?
I saw him pop back in, but he's muted right now.
Yeah, sorry, I ran upstairs and I left it sitting out. I didn't realize it was still on. I apologize.
There was audio coming through that sounded like snoring.
Really?
No.
My
Yeah,
partner's
you might have fallen asleep.
No. I was upstairs. My partner's next to me though.
All good. All right. So you can go downstairs if you choose to with Leofric and Maude, Willem, or you can stay and investigate the room. That's your choice.
Yeah, no, I was planning on going down. Speak
Okay.
privately.
Sounds good. I know what about.
Before
The-
we touch anything in the room, could Siegfried do like a perception check to see if
Sure.
there's anything immediately weird that stands out?
Yeah. Of course. Give me a perception check, please.
And I
I
have
will help with
enhance
that.
ability is still going too, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. It's been less than an hour. I would say you're 30 minutes into that at this point.
Yep.
So roll it again for advantage.
I forgot to hit the advantage toggle.
No worries. Easy to get it. Hey, look at that. That is slightly better. No problem. The room itself is very well set up. Unlike the previous room you've been in today, this is quite neat. There's a writing desk, there's drawers, there's what appears to be a roll of parchment. Looks like it might have been like a large scroll, and cutting implements. You suspect this has been used for the creation of letters to his dearly betrothed. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. The bed has been made up. It's not spartan in its decoration. There's a lot of care taken to this space. The frame of the bed has sanded, rounded edges for comfort, so that way if you step in or out, like it's not cutting into your bare foot or anything like that. There's a seating area with what looks to be like a wider couch-like setup and a couple of chairs. There's a small table, but with the similar motif, keeping all the furniture on the same theme of like these nice curving lines that it looks like he might be able to raise by adding in extra legs for a higher table, should one desire to have a supper upon it. It is quite nice. As you take, and this is just initial glance. There's quite a lot of care given to the selection of fabrics, as you would expect from someone who works in fabrics. They all match and give this area a warmer vibe than the walls and structure itself would normally suggest.
Is there any what are the words? Is there like any tools in this room?
There is not, other than the writing implements that you see. There's none that would belie the tradecraft on the bottom floor of the structure. Nothing to do with being a tailor or clothier. The only implements that you see that could be considered tools is a fine set of calligraphy tools that are hung by the writing desk.
Are there any letters on the desk openly?
There are not. There's just the scroll of parchment that's been affixed to two pins on one side of the desk. It's not currently unrolled or any sort, but it's just this essentially spool of parchment. When you only need so much, you only need to cut as much as you need.
Any of the books?
Uh,
Are there any interesting books? Because he was a bookworm.
Not in the main area that you see. You know that there's a bedroom off to one side, but the wall blocks some of that. You'd actually have to like enter and start looking around more properly to see if there's where he stores his books that he's purchased.
Siegfried would like to look there and see if there's any book that stands out. Maybe a book that he reads more than the others.
Of course. Let me grab my notes for that. There it is. Okay. The prevailing narrative of all of the books that you see are stories of epics from across the sea. There's stories of groups of adventurers prevailing against ultimate evil, of epic quests and deeds, of local lore and histories of Aquan. There's one book which has been slightly askew upon the desk. It seems out of place based on how neatly everything else is organized. That says title is where is it? Sorry. The Natural History of Aquan, its people, and its inhabitants.
I would carefully try to take a look at that, maybe determine what's the last thing he was reading in it. Or maybe if there's any like marks or marked pages, anything like that.
Putting the title in chat for you. As you open it, there's no bookmark indicating it. But you can feel that the spine doesn't really crack too much. You gather that this has been opened and closed a lot. And as you're reading through, it seems to be not quite assembled as a novel, but more of a treatise on local plants, flora, fauna, native creatures to Aquan, and then that's the beginning section of it. The later section speaks of, it seems like theories on the rise of and subsequent fall of some civilization that came before Droucia. And it seems to there's, as you're parsing through with your passive skill, you notice there's notes in a couple of the margins that draw your attention, and it just says visited locally on some of the pages, or they were here, and the margin notes refer to actual comments about Elderthorn specifically, notably Firefly Plaza, Cathedral Square, and the Temple of the Faithful, which are three of the oldest structures in the entire town, oldest things in the entire town. So there's just notes marking that whoever authored this treatise, there is no accreditation, but seems like they were familiar, at least with some degree, some factors of Elderthorn.
Is there anything that slightly resembles a journal, maybe?
Give me an investigation check.
Could we all make rolls to that, or
One more person can make an investigation check looking for
I'll leave that
a
to
journal.
Nakarada, since I'm looking at the book right now.
You want to go for it, Aeolus?
Yeah. Aeolus, as he walks in the room, is going to uncork a bottle of a thick, dark green liquid, and he's going to knock it back before
Okay.
he enters the room with everyone else.
Any visible effects?
The veins on his head slightly bulge.
Okay. As this disturbing effect takes place, go ahead and make me an investigation check, Aeolus. 18. As Dunan's wandering about the room plotting, you knock this back as he's turning over things, and you catch something Dunnan doesn't. As Dunnan passed through the threshold of the bedroom into the living area, seating and writing area, there's a creak of a floorboard as it depresses into the ground. And then as it shifts, Dunnan continues walking, oblivious to it. You see that the floorboard doesn't shift back to an upright position. It stays level with the other floorboards around it. You just barely catch this. And this seems very out of place for you.
I'll drop down to my knee and see if I'm able to move or shift the floorboard.
Easily enough. While Dunnan's going through drawers or the desk or whatever, looking for a journal, you sort of press on the floorboard. You feel it depress, and then against your knee, you feel it trying to bend upwards, just enough that you can get the flat of a like your hunting knife underneath the edge, just to hold it up for a moment. And then once you have that up, you carefully slide it back out of the way, revealing a small hidden compartment. Contained therein is a scroll case about 13 inches long and 2.5 inches in diameter. Quite a big one. A leather-bound book that is like sort of wrapped up with a leather thong to hold it closed. And a small tin that has a collection of folded, or sort of refolded pieces of parchment in it. There looks to be 50 to 60 of them, easily, in that tin. And they're folded into neat squares.
Seems like you found his love letters to Nara.
Seems like it. And I'll hand the leather-bound book over to Dunnan as I put the scroll case upright, and I'll open it and see if there's anything inside.
Okay. There is a scrolled piece of parchment. Let me grab this. Okay. The piece of parchment is 13 inches in height as you unscroll it, and about twice that in width. So it's wider than it is tall. About 2 feet in width. And it seems very out of place for the rest of anything that you see in this room. Scrawled over it in a deep crimson ink, with splotches that look a lot like bloodstains. You find this. You have no idea what this language is. At a glance, you do not know.
That definitely is not normal, Aeolus.
Seems like Lander was into some more dealings than his parents knew.
Could I take a look at Lander's journal to see if the handwriting in the margins matches his?
Dunnan has it at the moment, I believe.
Okay, I say done and
Yeah, but scroll
Take a
through it.
The handwriting from the journal looks like it matches the notes that were put in the margins of the Natural History of Aquan.
I'll let. So it seems like Lander was visiting these places all around town. Like, if you look here, it says visited in person next to a bunch of these sites in the book. I think we should maybe look where you went. I think this note might have something to do with that.
Pardon, can I see the journal?
Sure, go ahead. I'll hand over to John.
I'm going to flip through the journal to see if there's anything in the journal that matches any of these symbols.
Okay. Are you reading through the journal or just glancing for images?
Just glancing for images at the moment.
Okay. Give me another investigation check, please. You fan through the pages. None of these symbols seem to pop out to you. As you go through, you need a more in-depth actual skimming to see if there's anything regarding the discovery of creation of this other document in plain language as opposed to in specific symbolism.
Maybe Nara knows something about this code. And she was the closest person to him, right?
Sure.
Huh. And
But
Aeolus is gonna flip open the tin, take out one of the squared off pieces. Oh no. One of the squared pieces and open it. Is it written in this weird text or is it written?
It's not. No, it's written in the common tongue. It does contain roll me a d100, please. Okay. This one contains a discussion of. It sounds like, or the account of, not a discussion. Pardon me. But the account of speaking with Frohen. Of everything's going well, and how much she enjoyed the story of them finding that goblet the day before, and I was hoping that he might be able to bring more stories like that. It's a letter from Nara to Lander. It is, and it does not match Lander's handwriting whatsoever. This one is slanted and tilted to the left.
Okay. I'll just fold that back up, put it in, close the tin.
so Aeolus, Lieutenant, I think I might have a vague idea. Well, a theory, I guess.
Do pray tell.
Um, well, if I had someone I love dearly who had some sort of unsuspecting, unknown illness that was caused by the pinwood, I think I might do the same thing our victim did here. Start researching into the history of the place. Maybe trying to find a cure for her. But I mean, that's jumping to a lot of conclusions right now.
Well, I also learned last night of what caused young Goldworthy's wound. It's that of a fishing knife.
Yes, and did you find something about the fishing knife and the letters?
No, but his father mentioned that he did work for Gnome Depot. So maybe someone down at the docks didn't like that he was working there, or didn't like that he was possibly poking around for the history of the town. Thought he may have uncovered something.
Looking through the book Siegfried has, is there any mention of a place that would be near the docks or the harbor?
How long are you taking to skim through it? You're trying to go quickly just to see if there's anything that stands out to you.
I mean, I think we'll take some time. We don't
Okay.
have any pressing.
All right.
It's not the evening, right? We don't have to
No.
go back to sleep.
No. Go ahead and give me an investigation check then. No disadvantage.
I hand it over to Aeolus. I mean, I can't read. Here, you might have a better chance, Aeolus.
Alright. You get about 5 minutes into like going through it. The handwriting is tough on you. A little bit too neat for your taste, and it all bubbles together. Aeolus, did you want to make a check as well?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it. Alright. About another 10 minutes worth of time, during which time, Willem, you've concluded your business down below. I'll send you a message concerning it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
And then I would
come back
rejoin
up.
the party after.
And Aeolus, I'm just gonna give it here, since I'm assuming you'll share it with everyone anyway. The journal, the diary, for what it is, speaks of Lander's courtship of Nara. We got to speaking a little bit less than a year ago at the Mythsmith bookstore, and within a fortnight they were sneaking out to out of town in the afternoons to sit in farmers' fields as the summer weather came and enjoy it, read fantastic tales to each other, and make some fantastic tales better not to be shared in print. About 2 months of this bliss followed, till Nara fell ill. She was coughing up blood, barely able to keep food down, vomiting almost daily. Within days, though, she was confined to bed rest. Lander speaks of how he laments that his love should be ill, but spoke of his decision to begin writing to her, in addition to chronicling this. His love of literature was such that almost every day he would drop off a letter at the residence and receive a reply that evening. The letters were sometimes conversational, and sometimes quite steamy. On the orders of Froen Tidance, her physician, whom her mother had specifically hired from Armskirk to come and tend to her, nobody but her or her mother would enter Nara's chambers for the risk of some possible contagion. And the time passed, and Lander's love did not quiet. He was spending time there at the mayor's residence and speaking to Nara through the door at her chamberside whenever he could spare it from his duties at home or in town. During this time, he confessed how deep his feelings were, for Nara, who, with her mother's permission, accepted his proposal. Upon her getting well again, they would be wed. Weeks turned to months, and Lander speaks of a suspicion that came about him. But winter came, and he was unable to visit more than once or occasionally twice in the 10-day. During this time, he has concern for Nara and her health, that it not be improving, but seemingly not deteriorating either. It's just at this negative point, and speaks of his beginnings of investigation into the natural parts of the world. Are there any remedies that maybe this physician, Froen, has not tried yet that might be of assistance? Are there any options that he might be able to find? Up until about 2 months ago, a month and a half, maybe about 40 days, where the chronicling of that nature changes. The discussion speaks of how he needs to start earning money much more quickly than he had anticipated. The wedding would be soon. He needed to remember to get the measurements for her. He has her measurements listed. I asked to speak with his father about putting a garment together, one appropriate for someone marrying a tailor. He speaks with excited anticipation of what is to come. Quite recently, the last entry speaks of the time that he spent in Mary Tadale's household, speaking with Nara about their plans and letters that they've exchanged, and perusing their library specifically, where he was going through books and found another copy of the Natural History of Bakwan, and contained therein, folded into many times to make it fit within the tome, was a strange parchment with runes about it. He suspected it was some type of spell scroll of some sort, but it wasn't able to be identified by Kelpip, and that cost him quite a bit of his money. And he speaks of having it and needing to look more into this. Maybe it was something Frohen was trying to help Nara get better. But that's the last thing.
I immediately turned to, we have to find that doctor.
You mean the physician?
Frohen, yes.
So did you mention how he did get this book with the cryptic message or letter inside?
I think he found it in that Myths bookstore. Right, Spencer?
Mythsmith? No.
Yeah. No.
He found it in the library in the Mayor Anara's
Oh, okay.
home,
By
where
accident.
yeah,
Or
where
seemingly by accident.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And for context, Froen is from what you understand from the journal, Froen is a like live-in physician at this point because she was hired from another city state to come to Elderthorn to care for Nara.
About now, enhanced ability would probably be ending, right? Or already.
At this point, it's done. Yeah.
So,
By the time Aeolus goes through this and then relates the tale as it's unfolding, it's over.
yeah. So now that that's dropped, I would just like to pop a detect magic in the room.
Okay. One moment.
And I would spend 10 minutes to do it ritually.
Okay. Does anyone have anything whilst Siegfried is working on his ritual?
I would like to roll up the scroll, put it back in the scroll case, and sling it over my shoulder.
Okay. Sounds good. The ritual concludes. Looking around the room, Siegfried, the only thing that stands out as bearing some degree of enchantment is the inkwell on the desk.
I don't know what school of enchant, just that it's enchanted, right?
That would be transmutation. Yeah, it'd be transmutation.
There's something going around with this inkwell. Like, go over and pick it up. Does anything happen to me?
No, it does not explode in your face. It does not squid ink you in any way. It looks like an inkwell. It's got a stopper in it at the moment.
I step away from the other two, maybe step out of the room, and I try to unstopper it.
There's a audible pop as the cork comes out of it. Nothing happens.
Is there any sort of an ink pen on his desk or anything like that?
There is hanging on the wall, where the desk meets the wall. There's a section where all of the calligrapher's tools are held.
I would grab a pen and Aeolus, do you have a piece of paper?
I mean, there is this scroll you can take.
No, I'm not going to write on this. Is there any sort of loose paper in the room?
There's the only loose paper in the room is that scroll of parchment. There is a set of shears used to cut it as parts of it are used, but that is it.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were referring to the spell scroll.
No.
Okay, yeah, I will cut off a piece of parchment and I would just try and test out this ink.
It is a beautiful dark blue. It looks rich, and as it dries, it darkens and fades a little bit. It starts out quite vibrant, like very rich, and then it fades to a very dull dark blue. It's a good ink. It works as you expect. It flows easily from the nib of the quill. A featherless quill that you're using to write.
What are you trying to do, Siegfried? It's ink.
Something about this inkwell is magic. I'm just trying to figure out how.
Maybe it's
enchantment on this inkwell.
Maybe it just dries up very quickly.
Possible. I mean, I feel like any lead is warranted at this point, but
would I in character have any inkling to what this may be?
Give me an Arcana check. There's a few things that it could be. There's
Aeolus
you
is
can think of many uses for some degree of magical ink. You're not sure. Siegfried, as your detect magic is still up though, the scribbles that you've made, they do not have any magical radiation to them.
Doesn't seem like the ink is magic, but the bottle definitely is. As he
Mhm.
stopped her back up.
I mean, perhaps it's just. It looks like him and the mayor's daughter were infatuated with writing back and forth. Perhaps
Us?
it's an enchantment to allow him to continue writing with a endless amount of ink. That may be my guess.
Well, I think I'm just gonna hold on to it and try and identify this.
Sure.
I think we should probably let the family know that we're taking some things from the room to help with the investigation. I think that we should hold on to these journals and letters, right, Aeolus?
The letters to her or from her, I don't think we need to hold on to. I mean, I can ask how Leofric Maude would feel, and I or we can go over them just to clear any suspicions that we may have.
I still think we should read the letters. I think Nara is involved in this somehow, whether she knows it or not.
I think the most noteworthy is this cryptic message we found. And that physician.
It seems like he stumbled into something that may have been going on long before Nara was sick.
Or Lander stumbled onto something somebody didn't like he stumbled upon.
Or both.
He also seemed to have a sudden shift, slightly of mood.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty hopeful again. Didn't he mention they were to marry when she's well again?
And he thought it would have been soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
makes
doesn't seem
sense.
like a man who was resigned to let his wife remain ill. It seemed optimistic.
One of those fantasy romantics that I'm sure he's read in many of his novels to her.
Well,
And I
Aeolus
think we are
will start
finished for
making way
now.
downstairs.
yes, let's just tell the family that at least request to see if we can take these documents. And then, oh, hey, Willem. Hope you're not too bored.
No. I had some private business. Now I'm just observing.
All right. If everyone else is ready, I think Siegfried would go and try to ask if we could take some of the documents. And
They-
Yes.
Which ones do you mention to them? Are you being completely forthright?
Aeolus,
I'll let Aeolus handle that.
Aeolus would make it. Aeolus would only mention the journal and the love letters, and would say, upon our investigating, we found these, and he puts the journal and the tin of love letters down.
And I would also present the inkwell. This also appears to be magic. Do you know what this does?
Plus,
Sorry, someone else said something at the moment also.
I think Marcus was talking to one of his family members.
no, sorry, was not directed to you.
All right.
But yeah, I would present the inkwell. Do you know what this does?
Not sure. I mean, typically it holds ink. Used for writing.
There's some sort of magic coming off it. If you
Not
don't
sure.
mind, I'd like to identify it.
That's fine. Can you see to it that it's returned once you have, please?
Sure. I go upstairs and I cut off a bit of parchment again, and I just sort of write like a promissory note from the watch that on behalf of the watch that this is the property
Okay.
of this family and it should be returned to them.
No.
And sign it, get Aeolus to sign it, and then I hand the slip over to the family.
Okay. They acquiesce. Please, if you think it will all help, fine. Just make sure the things find their way back home, if possible.
Oh, they will.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we can help the group of you with? We have some money to try to cover any minor expenses if you should incur them during this, but...
No, that's no need.
Okay.
That won't be necessary. We just want to clear our names. By the way, you were not as direct.
Pardon?
That
Yep. The audio cut in and out.
not so. Also, sorry. You were not so quick in pointing your fingers at us, and for that I'm grateful.
Of course. We'd spoken with Arvier when the rumors began to circulate. He didn't suspect the group of you. Especially due to gestures towards Aeolus, due to your involvement with them. But told us to just let the rumors percolate for a little while. Just not feed into them. But the sooner people stop using our son's death as a way to gossip, the sooner we can put his memory to proper rest. Sort of looks down, lost in thought.
And I'll put my hand on his shoulder and say to him, we'll try our very best to find your son's murder and bring him to justice in any way you want. But I am a firm believer in law and justice, so I would rather let the community decide what to do with him. Or them, if we find them.
Thank you for letting us in your home, Leofric. Please give your wife our regards. We'll be out of your hair.
Yes, we do appreciate everything. We are here for you to help
Thank you. Yeah, I'll see you all out. Uh, about 5 days, Willem.
Oh, yes, of course. Would you like me to pay
Just-
now or after?
Come by then.
Yes, it's much appreciated. Sorry to add business to you at such a bad time.
Be good to get my mind off some things. We'll see you then. As he opens the door inwards for the group of you to go back out onto the street.
We still have a bit of time before dinner, right?
Yeah, it's just afternoon at this point.
Sigrid will say, I know we have a lot of places we could potentially go, but I think we should maybe talk to Dr. Booncraft before more time has passed. I want to get his impression of his last meeting with their son.
Will the dinner be in the Blackburn Watch?
No, we have to go back there in the evening. Right now it's noon.
Alright. Because I really want to see the crime scene, because maybe there was something left behind or overlooked by the watch. But if we're there anyway in the evening, we can take a closer look then.
Sure. Well, is everyone okay with heading towards Dr. Booncraft?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. You head across Cathedral Square, around the western side of Blackburn Keep, to the ODMC headquarters, Upland Depths Mining Company. You knock, you get the call for you to enter into the truly opulent space. As Dr. Booncraft is currently working on another one of the large tomes that you saw previously. Yes. Oh, hello.
Hello, Doc. We just came to ask some questions about, the horrible situation we're all in suddenly.
Yes. Horrible doesn't begin to spell it out. 3 deaths in as many days. Or weeks, I guess. I suppose those 2 were expired previously, but pyres in a 10-day, that's a lot. What can I do for you?
Well, we just remembered the last time we saw you. I keep forgetting the son's name.
Lander, Lander.
Yeah, I keep looking at the character, the NPC list, and missing it. Lander. I remember the day we left. Lander had come in here to discuss some business with you, and that possibly was one of the last times anyone had seen him alive.
Oh, was it? Oh my. Okay. And don't mind me asking, are you working for the watch on this investigation?
Yes, we're here under the instructions of Arvir and Storm Surge themselves. And
All right, make me a deception check.
I thought we were here on there. Yeah.
Not specifically on that. You're on here under Dunnan's promise to investigate.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's mostly true.
Yeah, it's like half true, but that's still a half lie. Okay. Yes, he was here. He was actually inquiring after the position that the group of you did. He saw the increased reward for our 2 lost souls, and was inquiring if there was any more availability for the work. I told him the group of you had just set out, and I'd be chagrined to send someone by themselves if they were not already known to be quite capable. There are some big monsters in the hills by the foot of the mountains, wild cats and the like. Not even if none of them had gotten the miners, it's dangerous for one to go by himself. I told him as such, and if he got a group together, I'd be more than willing to employ them to go as well. But I'm not going to promise someone coin for something that might end up in their demise. Gallows humor aside.
Would you say he was desperate for the money, or
Eager would be the word. He said he needed it soon. So he wanted to try to set out that evening, and he was supposed to meet back with me the following morning, but then he had been found. He said he would have a group together to make the journey outward. It would have been not more than a day behind you. Maybe 18 hours behind the group of you. If he had gotten a group, I wouldn't have been surprised if there could have been an overtaking or split across all of you.
do you have any idea where he might have gone to try and procure a group like us?
He could have gone to Blackburn, although not everyone's given as much carte blanche as you are, but you are with, as he looks at Aeolus, a higher ranking member, so I suspect that'd be why. We have now and then people that arrive on ships from Armskirk or other cities, and less frequently, but we have people that travel through, stop in the Faded Gate, or Bogrons for supplies before headed towards the mountains anyway. Usually people not quite right of mind that think there's treasure on the far side of the mountains. No, the real treasure is within the mountains, I say. Sort of taps the way too large garnet ring that he has. But
My father says the same thing, honestly.
but yeah, but no, groups like your such, although I much prefer a more homegrown effort like the group of you have put together. But no, people arrive trying to plunder the riches of Aquan usually every 10 day or two. Usually along some of our ships. From across the sea, we hire them as guards and hands, paying them a fair wage, including passage across the sea, which is not cheap to come by itself. So, they usually work as guards, getting shipment to our ships, and then once the ship arrives, they help unload, and then they're free to their own business. I know he worked at the Sea Dock Ward. He might have known some individuals. We did have a ship come in 7 days ago now.
Do we
Can
know?
you give us the name and the captain, perhaps?
You would need to check with our dock quarter worker. I don't have those notes in front of me at the moment. She has everything. She manages the whole import warehouse.
Looks like that's our next stop.
But
Yes.
if none of the watch were able to be free, that would be the next best plot. Besides asking around in the mead hall at Buka's, but that would be it.
I'm in Buka's pretty much every day. I don't remember noticing that, but I guess it wouldn't hurt to ask. No, thank you, Dr. Boongrass.
Did you all stay in town after I assigned you the job, or did you head out immediately?
We left immediately.
Okay,
Well,
so
we stopped at the watch and then we left.
okay. Those would be my only two suspicions. I told him as such. He at least 3 other people. Helps you get through a comfortable night. In relative safety. But that would be my only suspicion. We did have some guards on the last ship, if I recall correctly. I don't know what they did after that. Usually they either leave town on foot, purchase horses from one of the farmers, or get back on a ship and sail to Armskirk on their next shipment. Bigger city, sometimes better options for work.
You wouldn't happen to, on one of your ships, a dwarf named Lend and a half-orc? They weren't one of those guards?
Human. Land was human.
Oh, human. This would have been a couple years ago.
Not that I know of. I'll have to pull our records and check. Can you come back later tonight around supper? Before supper. Or after supper. Tonight when it gets dark. I'll check everything after I finish up my
We
tabulations.
Back to the keep for supper, but we can meet you afterwards.
I'll have it tomorrow for you if you'd like as well.
I think we can come back in the evening, right, Aeolus?
Afterwards or in the morning.
In the morning?
We'll pick it up sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
In the evening.
If you don't get here by moonrise, I'm going to be locking up. In which case, I'll just see you on first light. Or any time in the morning.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Dr. Punkref.
Of course. Zillin's fine. But you're welcome.
Dr. Zillian.
Is there anything else I can help you with? I don't have any more work at the moment. Thankfully, no other miners are missing, and work is resumed. Even hired some people to fill the roles. So I'm sorry you missed out on those positions.
Even if we have our hands full. But if this gets cleared up, we are happy to take on another job if we have one for us.
I don't have another job. I just said I don't have another job.
Now, if you then have another after
I think it means
things have cleared up.
future doctor.
He narrows his eyes. I'll keep you in mind. You did good previously, and I appreciate it. The families were appreciative also. They told me to pass along their thanks. So, this is me doing that.
Well, we will be on our way.
Good afternoon. Goes back to scribbling in his book. It's about 1-ish, 1:30 in the afternoon. Anywhere else you're headed?
Before we head anywhere else, Aeolus would like, or Aeolus is going to inform the group that he's going to stop back at his home and he's going to drop off the scroll case.
Okay.
He doesn't want to be walking around with it just in case anyone recognizes it.
All right. Do you store it? Where do you store it in your home?
I store it with everything else. I'm also going to.
In your armoire that is your arms armoire?
Yes. I'm also going to. No, that's it.
And And I think after that we're swinging towards the docks, right?
Aye.
Yep. Unless anyone else has any other thoughts or leads.
Oh, we've had two things kind of directing us to the docks right now. I think it's worth it to check it
Yeah.
out.
It's the best bet.
Okay. You head towards the Gnome Depot imports. Getting there, it's quieter in the afternoon. This work starts at moonfall or moonset before sunrise, often, or sunrise if sunrise comes earlier, depending on the time of year. And is usually concluded just a little bit after high noon. And there's still about a dozen, maybe 15 people at most that are working as you go through the wide entrance on the seaward side into the Gnome Depot warehouse. Looking around, and a particularly buff halfling sort of carrying more boxes to the point where you can't see his face, sort of bumps into the back of one of you with these crates. Quite sturdy. As watch where you're standing. He sort of shifts, turns to the side, sees where the group you are, and then carefully finagles himself around you. Always in the goddamn way.
You wouldn't know where the Dogmaster is.
He does not respond to you.
Friendly people here around.
Set him on fire.
Is there like an office or something that resembles an office for the dogs?
There's not an office that you see immediately. Give me an insight check, please. See if you can ascertain who's working at the moment.
Can anyone do that? Or
Yeah, anyone can.
And Sam is rolling hot tonight.
Jeez, yeah. That's 2 for you so far.
New, can I throw an insight as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Heckin' yeah. I'm ready for my low roll.
You can do it. Yes. Come join us. Here on the low end.
11, 12, 22. Oh my gosh. Taking a Aeolus, what's the duration on that ability, by the way?
It's until I take a short or long rest.
Oh, nice. Okay, not fixed to an hour or something like that.
Right.
I'm assuming if you've not said anything, it's still going. Okay. Glancing around the area, there is a human woman, quite kind of homely, quite plump, would be the polite way of saying it. That has what looks to be like a clipboard with some notes on it. She has a piece of chalk. And she's marking things as people are bringing crates in and shifting them around and organizing the warehouse. Seems to be the person that is acting as foreman in this case. None of you recognize her.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes. What can I do for you?
We're looking for the Talkmaster.
Darkmaster for what? It depends on the ship. It depends on what the crew's bringing in. If you're looking for fish, you got to try the southboard. If you're looking for hides that came up the river, you got to try the Tannersport. If you're looking for imports, that'd be me.
The latest ship that arrived not 7 days ago.
It'd be one of mine. Aye.
Would you happen to know or have the notes on who arrived with the ship and where they are?
Don't keep track of where people go after they get off my ships. Not my job. But I know who was on it. Let's see. Shipment. Sort of looks around at a group of you now, actually, for the right time. I'm sorry. Got caught up in the work. Who are you to be asking, though?
My name is Aeolus Frontes. I'm with the Blackburn Watch.
Oh. My apologies, sir. Sorry, I'm trying to do a lot of things at once, as you can see. And needn't mind. She puts the tablet down for a sec. Lays the chalk on it. Goes over to a small desk that's set off to the side and starts flipping through some parchments. Let's see. Ship docked 8 days ago. Started unloading 7. Carried supplies of. At that point, it was some food stuffs. We weren't sure how long it was going to be until the fields were illegally planted. Carrying mining equipment for ODMC. Carried some leathers. They went down to the Tanner port. ODMC had bought them to bring them in. Some raw ore of iron, and brought in a collection of spices, I think. But on the ship, there was our crew, the gnome captain, and we had a contingent of 6 people acting as pirate guides.
Do you know if the guards signed on for a job shortly after landing?
Most do. If we don't hire them back again, or if they don't want to work for us again. Typically, usually our guards, if they get a run-in with pirates, don't want to be hired back again. No, the captain didn't report anything. Any unsullied attacks or unsavory characters spotted in the islands, but never know.
Do you know
Sailors
if
tell tales.
Do you know if we'd be able to find out if any of this group were getting ready to do a job finding missing miners?
Not that I know of. I saw something about that. Booncraft was saying he sent some people out.
Yes, as far as we know, someone came down here to try and get a crew together, and we just wanted to know if anyone took the job or not.
Have you had any speakings with the Goldworthy boy before?
Lander, yeah, I have. Shame what happened to him. Yeah, he was here 6 days ago. At the day he, they found him. He was asking about the same stuff. Seeing if anyone was about. I told him I wasn't sure. The only 2 people that I knew that were sticking around in town that weren't taking the road back to Armskirk were Alan and Hilnia Kylie. put it in chat for you guys.
Alon
Hilnia. Yeah.
You would
Laden and Hilnia.
Lander would speak to them.
They were half elf. They're half elves. I think they're twins. Not sure. But they were sticking around in town, seeing if they could find any work. But that's all I knew. I told him they were still in town, from what I knew. And he might be able to check with them.
Okay. Unrelated question.
Hi.
Where would I head off to if I wanted to buy cutlery or knives to flay a fish open?
A little bit more specialized than what Gogron buys from us. Your best bet would be checking with one of our merchants in the Market March. And let me grab the details for that. There it is. Okay. Temple. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I get the timetables right for you on this one. So the Market March, letter M on your map, I can drag you guys over to it. Is an open air market. It is populated from, there we go, from morning to sundown, almost daily. There are some days that are observed that no business is done. One of such day was yesterday, such that anyone who wants to compare their respects. And typically any day that there's a pyre to be had, the march is not open either. Farmers, craftsmen, all manner set up stalls. They are allowed to start setting their stalls as soon as moonset, and they are expected to have everything cleared, carts, animals, supplies, everything out of the square before moonrise the following night. If the moon is up and your stuff is still in the market, you face a hefty fine from Blackburn Watch, along with your permit being able to set a stall for the next 10 days being pulled, which is more costly than the fine, generally. Opulent Depths Mining Company employs quite a few number of people who act as intermediaries, merchants that set up stalls in the Market March to sell goods that are brought in by Gnome Depot Imports, their import branch. As the import warehouse is not a market front, it's easier for these merchants to find out what was brought in, take a cart from the warehouse to the march, set up a stall, sell the wares, and then bring anything that's not sold back to the warehouse. And then rinse and repeat the following day. But that would be the best option. I know, I mean, it's within Amber Braid's skill as well to make some scaling knives. They need to be quite thin, you understand. They have to bend well along the spine, but it works.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else I can do for the group here?
Just nice to meet you. In the future, we'll probably be looking for jobs. If you have any in mind, feel free to look us up.
That's fine. I'll keep it in mind. Excuse me, I need to finish this up for the day. I need to get home, check on Ken.
Well, good evening, then.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, I forgot what time it was.
Yeah. Early to mid-afternoon at this point. Alright. You finish up at Gnome Depot. Headed off to where, so that way I know where you're starting. We're going to be starting next session.
Probably Market Watch.
Market
Yeah.
March. MARC.
Market Watch. There's the Blackburn Watch, and then there's the Market Watch.
Market March. march, because you march up and down the stalls looking for your goods.
Ah,
Alrighty.
that's now.
Yep.